If cognitive skills or concept scores are something that your student needs to work on, one of the things we'll need to do is identify what cognitive skills they still have the opportunity to improve on between now and the end of the year. To find those, we'll start by noting that concepts and cognitive skills are assessed through projects. Projects are what you'll see on the first line underneath each subject. In this example, personal narrative is shown as a project in the English 9 course. And again, this is a demonstration system, so English 9 isn't a course that we offer here at Mill Creek. This is a demonstration system so that you're not looking at confidential student data. So this project included 3 checkpoints, and you can see the student completed them all and received green feedback from their teacher. Green simply means they could proceed to the next checkpoint. Checkpoints are where students work on the skills that ultimately are demonstrated in the project and receive feedback on them. The next thing you'll see is status. So the status in this case simply says scored. That means the student has turned it in and received scores in their cognitive skills. That status might also say submitted if the work has been submitted but not graded by the teacher, or overdue if the project hasn't been turned in but the line has passed it. In the related focus areas, it'll identify which content focus areas, both power and additional, match up to the content that's being used for this particular focus area or concept. All right, so let's see, how do we figure out how many projects your student still has left and what cognitive skills they have the opportunity to demonstrate? We'll want to look to the right of the blue line and see which projects are there. So in this example, it appears as though this student still has a literary analysis essay, a creative writing and performance task, and a persuasive speech. When you look in the Summit system, it's possible that there are going to be more projects there than your student is going to be assigned between now and the end of the year. We've provided for your reference a list of which projects are being completed in which sections for all of the teachers for all of the Summit courses. And you'll want to consult that to make sure that your student is only planning for the projects that their section is going to complete between now and the end of the year. To find out which cognitive skills they have the opportunity to demonstrate mastery of within a particular project, let's go ahead and click into that project. In this project, you'll see at the top, it shows you what the final products the student is being required to present are. So this project has 3 separate final products: a portfolio, a Socratic seminar, and a presentation. Below that, you'll see checkpoints. This is where students work on tasks that help them develop the skills in order to succeed in those final products. On the right-hand side, you'll see the cognitive skills that are being assessed through this project. Each cognitive skill can be explained in a little bit more depth if you mouse over it, but if you'd like to see the full rubric, click on the View Rubric option below. In the Summit rubric, what's considered an A, a B, and a C varies by grade level. So in 7th grade, the range is from a 2.5, that's a C minus, that's the minimum passing, up to a 4.5, that's 100%. Once the student gets to 8th grade, a C minus, 2.5 is no longer good enough to get you a C minus. Now they have to get a 3 to get a C minus. So let's take a look at the 8th grade rubric. So in the 3 column, if your student has demonstrated mastery of a cognitive skill at the level described here, they'd earn a 3 on this rubric. In 8th grade, that corresponds to a 70%. You can see the 4 level, which in 8th grade corresponds to an 85%, and the 5 level, which in 8th grade corresponds to 100%. Now, students in both grades can be scored at the 4 level or the 3 level, depending on how advanced they are. It's just worth noting that a 3 in 8th grade doesn't get you as high a letter grade as it did in 7th grade. And that makes sense. Every year that the students move forward, our expectations of them get higher. And our goal is that the longer that they work on these skills, the more they improve them. So you can go through and identify what do students actually need to do in order to earn various levels on these cognitive skill rubrics. So for example, a 3 level is that you have introduced a main claim and a relevant subclaim. To get up to a level 4, you've introduced them And you've organized it so that the relationships between them are evident. Building on that to get to a level 5, the subclaims are clear and support the reader's understanding, and attention is given to the significance of the claims. So each level builds on the one before it. If you're helping your student work towards improving their scores on a cognitive skill, this is a good place to look for understanding what it is that they need to do to improve that. So you'll notice that this shows you which focus areas match up with the content in a particular project. So if your student is having trouble in a particular project, it's worth going back and looking at the associated focus areas, particularly for math. If a student mastered a focus area much earlier in the year, it might be worth revisiting it. If a student hasn't mastered a focus area yet, it might be worth skipping ahead to work on it. What we'd like you to do next is to go through and make a list of the remaining cognitive skills in your students' remaining projects. Those are all of the skills that your student can improve on or demonstrate mastery of to improve their grade in the course each year. We'd also encourage you to note what scores your students have already earned, because sometimes a cognitive skill will be assessed multiple times during the year. In order to see your students' current cognitive skills, you can go back to the Grades tab that we started with earlier on. So if we go into Progress, and then we look in Course Grades, so I'm going to click here on the current grade for this student, I can see the cognitive skills that they've already been assessed on. So for this particular student, it looks like conventions and style and language were things that were difficult for them. If those are concepts that are being assessed again in upcoming concept units or projects, the student might want to focus on those two, as opposed to focusing on narrative where they've already earned a higher score. Again, if your student were to demonstrate a higher level of understanding of conventions in a future project than the 3 level they've already shown, their score for conventions would move to that highest level that they've demonstrated.